Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Exterior, and today we'll be going over episode 4 of the Astra Lost in Space anime series. Now, we start off with a quick explanation from Ares about what happened last week and her excitement about being on this new planet, and this scene kind of threw me off a little bit. It's the classic kind of thing where you hear a character's voice and you recognize it, but then you're seeing a different character. Now, I might actually be at fault here. It might actually be Quilterine's voice that we're hearing, but I'm pretty sure it's Ares' voice. Nevertheless, we then see Quilterine in the shower, and I don't know, things just didn't add up when you see Quilterine and hear Ares' voice. Oh well. Anyhow, this was all meant to be a bit of comedy, as we see Zach's reaction when, he opens the door and finds Quilterine basically as she is in the shower, and his reaction is non-existent. It's so kind of like cold and sort of robot-like that they even add a beep effect to kind of emphasize this kind of no reaction at all. So this did make me laugh a little bit, but nevertheless, that's just what it was there for. So, another thing to note, that if we hear the crew shout the phrase, "aye, yeah," this means understand or understood, as they find it weird saying understood to Katana whenever he gives them orders, and it's also from Funi's puppet called Bigo, his TV show basically. And that's how he says understood. He goes, "ah, yeah. Yeah." Carrying on. Now then, this episode was a great showcase for two characters in particular, and those characters being Katana and Yunhua, or Yuaha. Oops. As we land the Astra on the planet Shummoor, in search for food and water in order to proceed to the next planet. The design of this planet looks absolutely stunning, and the theme behind it was absolutely brilliant in my personal opinion. Now we see two creatures on this planet. One of those being a Gruppies, and this is like a camel-like creature, which if you give it food, it'll give you a ride. Okay, fine. Great, so that they don't have to walk long distances. And then the main threat of this planet, a poisonous plant pole, which basically disperses poison spores that travel through the wind and attract the Gruppies and other sort of creatures towards it, killing them, and then what the soil and the trees would do would absorb all the moisture and nutrients from these animals that die around it, and basically photosynthesize with that sort of nutrients they gain from it. Hence to why we see dead carcasses of animals and other creatures around the planet. So throughout this episode, Katana shows once again his captain skills and characteristics. Number one, he stops the crew from figuring out who the traitor is. He basically states, look, we can't keep questioning and debating who this guy is or who this girl is, because it's going to tear the group apart. If we start having to look over each other's shoulders and sleeping with one eye open, then, we're not going to be able to trust each other, which means we're not going to be able to survive. He doesn't say this exactly, but this is kind of what he implies. Number two, he organises the groups and disperses them into sort of their respective groups in order to find water, and the other one to find the food. Again, he helps out the crew members because, the week before, in episode 2, I think, or a couple of weeks before, in episode 2, he helped out Funi, and now in this episode, he's helping out Yunhua, because she runs away, and he goes and finds her, comforts her, and tells her that the crew does in fact care for her, and she doesn't need a crazy talent like the rest of the crew in order to help out. She just needs to help everybody out bit by bit, and that would be, okay. And it's worth noting that Katana is the one who also has to get this cure for the poisonous plant poles, while everyone else is under the effects of the poison. He also goes as far as to infect himself with this poison just to get the tree to show the cure in order to help out the rest of the crew. So we're seeing more risk-taking and more kind of progression in terms of becoming a leader from Katana in this episode. And that to me is great. I really do like Katana as a character, whether that's in the manga or in the anime. And, well, the anime is doing a brilliant job in showing his development when it comes to bringing him into that leadership role. Okay then, so finally we do get some Yunhua development. They teased it last week, and, well, in this week's episode we learned that she was raised to not stand out. Her mother didn't want her to get any big parts or anything like that. She also told her daughter to not have a dream. So basically, she's been brought up to not reach out for anything. As we see a flashback of a young Yunhua, and she basically gets a lead role in a school play, only for that role to be revoked by her mother. And this is why she feels like she does. She feels worthless because she's always messing things up and doing things wrong. And with the words that her mother told her that we saw last week, where she said, if you can't help anybody, just stay out anybody else's way. As well as the fact is, Yunhua wants to be invisible. That's what she tells Katana, when in reality she wants to be a singer. And this shows, because she helps out the crew in keeping up their spirits while they're all under the effects of the poison. And her song and her singing, they were amazing. I really did like that in this episode. Whether or not the voice actress herself sang there, or whether or not they brought another song in, it doesn't matter. Coming from this character, it was great. To see her kind of shy personality and character traits evolving and blooming into someone who's willing to help her crew members out, and to sing, and basically seeing a new side to Yunhua's character is really refreshing and great. I love the development that they've given her in this episode, so props to that. Now overall, this episode, combined with the music, combined with the theme and the threat, it was a great episode, and it really gave off the sense of danger in this episode, especially towards the end. The crew were in fact dying, and there was only 2 people remaining. And those 2 people, like I said, were Katana, who we know can be dependable and can come through in situations like this, and the other person was Yunhua. Again, before this episode, we didn't know much about her, and from what we saw, she wasn't that helpful. She was always shy and timid and didn't really help out much, and when she did, she was a bit too clumsy and ended up making the situation slightly less favourable. So it really did raise a few flags as to think, how is she going to help out the crew? Oh, shouldn't Katana have stayed with everybody else? But no, they handled it really well, and Yunhua did a brilliant job in this episode. And to top it all off, we had some fantastic animation, which to me personally, I thought it was movie quality animation, and I really did like the art style and everything that came along with this episode. This series has had some fantastic animation over the last 4 episodes, and this one improved brilliantly. So then, that pretty much is it. There was a bit of comedy in this episode, like I said at the beginning, and mostly with Katana and Quilterine. They have a good dynamic, those 2 characters, that make the show a bit more funnier. They did have some good character expressions in this episode, like when they were eating the plant candy, and the art style kind of changed. That was pretty cool. As well as the fact is, Charles's reaction were just priceless. I love them. He was great. But yeah, the comedy wasn't so much present in this episode, but there was a tiny amount of it because this episode was more of a serious episode. So I'm glad they went with that choice and not made it completely comedical, because that would have taken away the dangerous and the dreaded sort of vibe that the episode has altogether. So then, what do you think about Yunhua's character? Do you like this development, or do you really not care about her character at all? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this episode, then let me know that as well. But other than that, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new, so you never miss a video from me. there will be more Astra related content coming through soon on the channel. Not just reviews, but maybe a few interesting topics that might spark a few discussions. Anyway then, I hope you will have an amazing day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.